Welcome to the Warning Track Power Hour. I am Dr. Andrew Scaff. He is Dr. Michael Werman, Esquire. On today's show, we'll be recapping the NFL's regular season finale, ending with another Chiefs loss. We'll talk about the college football playoff, getting ready for the semifinal round now here this week. Uh, and actually, I think that's about it. Well, I guess we'll preview next week's wildcard round for the NFL also. But we'll start today with the Chiefs regular season finale in a mostly ineffective uh, jumble of field goals and a safety, I guess. Like it seemed like it was a somewhat unique path to get to the score that they ended up with. Mike, were you impressed with anything that you saw during the Chiefs game, or just happy to have the season over so we can now start thinking about what happens next instead of living in the sort of disaster that was the end of the 2025 year for the Chiefs?
Well, I'm kind of in that boat. I think like looking forward to next season, see how they'll do. They finished 6-11, so they ended up finishing with a top 10 draft pick with number 9 pick in the
Yep.
draft. They'll get so they'll have some. This will be the best player they'll be able to pick for a long time. Maybe the best that will be around in the Mahomes era. Not only, I guess you could say they get the number 9 pick in the first round, but they also get the number 9 pick in the second and the third. So they get the high
Right.
picks in all the rounds,
Right.
and then they can trade with those, and there's more trade value now in those picks. They could trade back and get multiple picks and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it's a good position to be in. Um, yeah, it's better that they lost this last game rather than won. I think. Um, it kind of, but it seems like we talked about this before we went on the air that maybe the Chiefs are the worst team in football without Mahomes. They ended up losing to two of the top three or four worst teams in the last few weeks since
Yep.
Mahomes was injured. They lost to the Titans, and they lost to the Raiders, both of whom finished 3-14. Uh, and
And the
yeah, it
Raiders
was
with their without Max Crosby and their starting quarterback too, right?
yeah,
Not even
yeah,
just like
yeah.
a
Without
full strength Raiders team,
not a full strength
even.
Raiders team. Um, yeah, well, it's obviously wasn't a full strength Chiefs team either,
Right.
uh, but at least even with Mahomes in it, they were at least challenging for playoff a playoff position, I suppose. So, like they were at least a kind of mediocre team with Mahomes this year. Uh,
Yeah.
they looked really good early on at times, but yeah, they just didn't have. There were a lot of injuries on the line and things like that. But even Mahomes couldn't kind of cover up for some of the, I think stale play calling, stale offensive uh, um, system. The defense I thought played pretty well again. They only allowed 12 points. They had two of the points that the Raiders scored were via safety. It was 4 field goals. This was the only. We looked at the score before we started going on the air. We also looked at the scoregami. This was the 20th game in which there was a 14-12 score, but it was the first 14-12 score where there was zero touchdowns scored by either team. Um, they were just 8 field goals and a safety. So this was in some ways a scoregami like situation.
Right.
Uh, but yeah, it
The
didn't.
unique path to those
Yeah,
to the sort of
yeah,
semi-rare score.
yeah. And so the Chiefs, I thought, yeah, you kind of saw probably Owadokin's not going to be the answer at backup quarterback. Bouchel's probably not going to be the answer. He's already been released. Bouchel, I think, maybe to latch back onto the Bills if he wants to.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so it was a good game. Defense played well. The defense was without they were without McDuffie. They were without you know Leo Chenal, who's been on IR now. They were
Yeah.
without a couple of guys, and they still played really well. It seems like the defense, especially in the cornerback safety realm, they can kind of just plug in anybody there. It seems like and do well. I don't. Maybe this is something where they'll think of trading Trent McDuffie in the offseason before he gets really expensive and get some draft capital uh, for him. He's a really great player, but Noel Williams has done really well at corner in his limited time. Christian Fulton played pretty well the last few weeks. Jalen Watson, maybe he'll get the second contract. You know, a couple players coming back from injury. Nazi Johnson came back. So like it seems like there's room. At least there's of the ability to kind of lose some really talented players and still have a good defense. The offense just needs well, they've had really bad luck injury wise. The Chiefs were playing without um, their two starting tackles, their two backup tackles, and starting right guard. Trey Smith was out as well, so there wasn't a whole lot there. I think they really need a running back. Maybe that's where you can get somebody really good at number nine.
which isn't
Um,
like a hugely expensive position to pick up
mhm.
talent, but
No, but like if you want, I guess
maybe it will shift back that way.
if you want somebody that can take some heat off Mahomes, if you want a Bijan Robinson or a Saquon type, it might be good to might be good to have for somebody who can. Jeremiah Love is probably the pick from Notre Dame that looks like maybe he's the number one running back. But you also think maybe the Chiefs could trade back and still perhaps get him. They didn't want to pick him at number nine, but
Yeah. Oh, we were talking about like looking for somebody in the draft at a relatively high round then, right? So like
yeah,
not
yeah, I
not
was,
like trying to like acquire a top tier talent at running
yeah,
back from that already, has NFL experience though.
yeah. It seems like maybe because Damian Pierce maybe he's somebody who'll catch on next year. You probably have hopefully maybe Kareem Hunt back in short yardage situations. He's done really well with that, but like
Yeah.
Rashard Smith maybe going to improve as well, but I think Pacheco's probably gone. Um,
Yeah, see, like I would expect them to probably spend more high end capital, draft capital on like offensive line probably is what I would guess that they're gonna do. 'Cause like we've
well,
seen in the past that like they've had success with running backs as long as the line is good, like they can put almost anybody back there.
yeah, the line. It seems like they've got their line of the future. It seems like with Sumataiya on and Simmons on the left, Humphrey in the
Hmm.
middle, Trey Smith on the as right guard. Maybe you want a new right tackle, but maybe um, you have that right tackle already in the system. So
Yeah.
uh, there have been a couple injuries that maybe um, maybe you can put him. Right tackle's not a huge need compared to some of the other positions on the line.
Yeah.
It seems like you could also bring in a free agent, also a right tackle if you needed to. But it seems like they've got enough maybe in homegrown options that
Hmm.
line. I think if they bring in a lineman, it needs to be on the defensive line since they have
I
so
think
much
they're gonna
trouble
do that too. Yeah.
generating pass rushes.
Yeah.
Uh, other, Chris Jones was pretty good yesterday or Sunday, but he still continues to play at a pretty high level.
Yeah.
But there's not Carl Loftus seems to have fallen off a cliff. Um,
Yeah.
he hasn't done a whole lot. Uh, Mike Dana, Amenahue haven't done a whole lot. Um, so it seems like they need D line help. Maybe as at least the biggest defensive need. Probably is defensive linemen. They seem to have a lot of linebackers they can kind of sub in and out
Yeah.
um, and um, cornerback safety. But yeah, I don't know if they need to find new wide receiver help or they just need a new scheme.
A lot of
But
the stuff that we're talking about sounds like we're not we don't think the personnel is actually that bad. What? Like I don't know that we're that far away from what we think would be a good team.
well, 2 years ago they're
I
in the
guess they
Super
had a
Bowl,
different
so
scheme, I think, is where it sounds like where we're
yeah,
sort of steering this a little bit, right?
yeah. Well, last year they were in the Super Bowl. 2 years ago they won the Super Bowl. 3 years ago they won the Super Bowl. So like a lot of these are the same players that haven't exactly you know been terrible. So like it's
Yeah.
a fine it's a fine line. I guess if Mahomes is healthy, he can lead a mid-level team to success. It's been shown, I think.
Yeah.
Uh, so all you have to
But
do
some
is
of
get
those
the
teams
rest of
that
the
won
roster.
didn't play the best all season. Like they
Yeah,
did just enough to win games, a couple of those years. They weren't like
yeah,
dominant game one through game 17 and then
yeah.
into
They
the playoffs.
yeah, the most dominant team the Chiefs have had probably was the team that lost the Super Bowl to Tampa Bay,
Hmm.
the 2020 or
Right.
2020 Chiefs team, which ended up having line injuries at the end, which kind of cost them.
Right.
But going through that, they were a buzzsaw, and that was like one of Mahomes' best years.
Yeah.
Um, but it seems like the last couple of years, it's been like it's just offense has been just it's been like we talk about like pulling teeth. It's just been very difficult, very
Yeah.
um,
Well,
boring in some ways. Yeah,
that's more of the scheme things, I think, than the personnel issues.
yeah,
Like there were years like where you'd have like a specific player that you would point to as saying like this guy is a problem. Usually it was on defense with one or two different guys that
Daniel
were
Sorensen or somebody like that. Yeah.
right. But there's not been like that really, on the defensive side. It hasn't really seen that at least
No,
anyway.
it
But
seems like Spagnuolo has his players now, and he's been able to fit the scheme, and at least or Veach knows how to draft players now
yeah,
that can fit that
to fit
pretty
the
well.
scheme that Spagnuolo wanted and
Hmm.
now has, right?
Yeah,
Because it seemed like
yeah,
when he first got here, it was kind of like, he was trying to fit players into the scheme that he wanted, even if they weren't really capable of performing
hmm,
the way that he wanted them to. So they sort of suffered a lot during those years,
yeah,
during that at least 1 or 2 years, right? And then that came along, and then it was now it looked pretty solid.
yeah. You wonder, I guess technically, you wonder if is Spagnuolo going to be back? Is he going to maybe get a head coaching job? Um, is this is one of the few times where the Chiefs actually have like it's an advantage for the Chiefs to be out of the playoffs, at least for their coaches, because now they have there's interviews that can be had. There's 7 head coaching openings. We've just because we just learned right before we went on the air that John Harbaugh was fired from the Ravens on Tuesday. He joins um, Pete Carroll, who just got fired from the Raiders. Uh, Jonathan Gannon got fired from the Cardinals. Kevin Stefanski fired from the Browns. It's 4. Um,
Ricky
who else?
Morris at
Raheem Morris
Atlanta
from the Falcons fired, and then we already had openings in
at the
Tennessee and
in the New
the
York Giants.
Giants. So
Yeah,
7.
nice, not
Uh,
bad, all seven. Yeah.
7, yeah. Um, so yeah, it seems like I've heard that Spagnuolo and Nagy both have had interviews with or going to have interviews with the Titans, and I think that's your biggest hope. I think is to have Matt Nagy hired as a head coach someplace else, so he doesn't have to be the offensive coordinator
Nice.
anymore. I think that's one of Andrew's secret New Year's resolutions.
Right. Is your dream scenario though that Nagy does get picked up Tennessee or somewhere else, and Cliff Kingsbury finds his way to Kansas City as an offensive coordinator? Because he
Yeah, that
apparently
would be.
is going to be
He got let
uh,
go by the
let go,
Washington.
yeah,
Yeah,
by from the Washington, yeah,
I think that would be a good fit. I guess you always wonder maybe you bring Bieniemy back.
yeah.
Um, the Chiefs had really good success with him as offensive coordinator.
Mhm.
Maybe you want to do something different though, and gets Kingsbury of course had Mahomes as a college quarterback in Texas Tech, um, and so maybe he knows how to get certain things out. And he got astronomical numbers playing at Texas Tech under a Kingsbury system. Um,
Mhm.
it remains to be seen whether Andy Reid wants a different offensive game plan in place, but maybe it's time for him to maybe be more of the caretaker head coach and less of the game planning head coach. It seems
Mhm.
like the Chiefs offensively haven't been very good the last couple of years. Um,
Yeah.
and I don't know if that's just because things have changed it doesn't seem like Mahomes is. It seems like Mahomes is kind of single-handedly kind of holding things together when there's not like we saw how bad the offense was last few weeks. I think this is the first time
Oh,
in I think it's the first time in several years that a team has gone 7 straight games without scoring more than one touchdown in a
hmm.
game. Um, I think it's it was I think it was the first time in several years when it happened with 6 games. But then I read that before this last week, and now it's 7 and 7 straight games. The Chiefs have
Yeah.
had just one touchdown or less.
Hmm. I mean, it was
Uh,
a struggle even at times with Mahomes there, though, too.
yeah, yeah, that's why.
Like they
Yeah,
could get down close to the end zone, into the red zone, and then the drives would just sort of like stump, like just putter out basically. But uh, we pretty much knew it wasn't going to happen without Mahomes there, though, right? Like you didn't think
mhm.
there was hardly any chance of them finding the end zone, did you? Watching some of those last couple of games.
No, yeah, this is yeah, I didn't expect a lot of success. Uh,
Yeah. Well, especially
um,
when they're not like able to run consistently.
no, and they aren't able to pass consistently either. So that doesn't,
No.
it didn't really matter whether they could run or not at one point, but because they could just throw it so easily.
Those
And
are two of the major phases of the game, though, right? On the offensive side, the running and the passing.
yeah, and they don't
You kind
have.
of need at least one of them to be okay.
Yeah, it seems like there aren't the receivers don't get open, or the scheme doesn't scheme them open in a way that some other teams like it just seems easy how easy they score. Uh,
Yeah,
it's not like it's a that great quarterback play or something like that. It's simply coaching and the way the plays are drawn up.
yeah.
Um,
Well, there's sort of
and
the old school method where you get 3 to 4 yards on every play, right? Usually that's like the old school rushing
yeah,
offenses. And then there's also, teams that just like take big chunks, right? Take chances but yeah, the Chiefs didn't seem to have either one of those
well,
vectors
if they were
really.
3 to 4 yards per play, it was 3 to 4 yards because they passed it 3 or 4 yards every time. That was about
Yeah.
it. So the passing game was like a bad running game. Um,
And then they had no downfield
yeah,
option. Yeah. But yeah, maybe we've uh I don't know. What we already spent enough time on the Chiefs? Should we like
yeah. Well,
maybe not spiral anymore into this and
yeah, we did have some success with our locks of the week this week, and we were actually
in a
5-1.
notoriously difficult to predict week too, right?
Yeah, we were 5-1 on the week.
Yeah.
I ended up being 3-0. I ended up almost catching up and being almost breaking even on the season after a horrible start. I
Lucky
was only
Jack.
well, I was 26, 27-1. Is that
Yep, that's right.
so?
Yeah.
One push away from breaking even.
Yeah.
Uh, um, and you ended up doing, but you were 2-1 this week, so you ended up inching forward as well. Do you want to
Yeah.
get your lone loss of the week out of the way?
Sure. Yeah, and we took kind of different approaches, I think, to making our picks. It seems like yours was a little bit better than mine was. I
Yeah,
was looking at
I picked
teams
games that I
that
thought the teams that were playing had reasons to play, um, and
for something in a
or
positive
something.
way, right? I
Yeah.
was picking more on teams that like had something to play for on the negative way, so like maybe actually be actively trying to lose.
Mhm.
Uh, but but I also try to pick in games that where one team was like maybe at least moderately trying to win, while the other team was probably actively trying to lose. But the one that did not work out for me was the Dallas -3.5 at the Jets. Dallas ended up losing that game, not just not covering, but they lost by 17 points in that one, which is a little bit surprising. So the Giants ended up winning 34-17. So I was not anywhere close to that pick being correct. And
Yeah, that was a
the Giants had like a very small chance that they could end up with the number one pick had they lost, and the Raiders won, but they were the early game, so uh, they had already won, so the Raiders knew that they were going to get the number one pick, so it didn't matter if they lost or so. But yeah, so that did not go the way I expected at all,
Yeah, it's
and
a little
did better.
surprising. You would think that, yeah, it was at New York, so I guess New York had home field advantage. But the
Yeah,
way the Dallas offense has been playing this season, even when things don't matter so much, it seems like they've been doing really well. So I thought that was a decent pick, and there wasn't anything to play for the Giants. They already lost their coach, but I guess it's just yeah, you want to win the game, I guess, and that's what happens. Divisional opponent.
hmm
Um, Sometimes strange things can happen in the division games. So yeah, the Giants, big rivals of the Cowboys, so they ended up winning 34-17. Um, yeah, Jackson Dart, trying to build on his early, I guess, successes this season. Yeah, maybe the Giants have something to look forward to for next year. And if even the Giants got the number one pick, it seems like they weren't probably going to pick a quarterback anyway. So there's not as big a reason to be number one overall if you're not going to pick that quarterback
I
as
think
number one.
if you have the chance to get the number one pick, you should get it because you can always trade it, and it's still worth more than it's
Well,
not, worth to not have it.
it's a little bit like when the Chiefs had it. They had it like the worst possible year that you could have the number one overall pick, and they ended up picking Eric Fisher number one overall, and nobody
Uh,
wanted to trade for it. Nobody want. This year it doesn't seem to be quite as bad as that, maybe, but there's
yeah,
not there aren't
somebody
as many there aren't as
almost
many
every time wants it.
there aren't as many can't miss quarterback prospects. I guess the guy from Oregon maybe is the number one pick, or maybe the Mendoza from Indiana. We'll talk about that game in a little bit.
No,
Um, but yeah, that was just kind of bad luck on your part.
no,
It just wasn't the right
didn't work
pick.
out.
It's hard to predict this week 18 games, although we did a pretty good job mostly. Um,
Yeah, we did not do poorly for.
I'll do my um, I guess I'll do my closest call of the week first,
We had some
and
close
then
ones.
uh, I guess there are two close calls that I had.
Yeah,
Although I guess the closest call I had was the Carolina Panthers against the Buccaneers game. Panthers were 2.5 point underdogs at Tampa. They needed either win the game outright to make the playoffs or lose the game and hope that Atlanta beat New Orleans to force a three-way tie in the division to make the playoffs. And that's what ended up happening. They ended up losing 16-14, but they were 2.5 point underdogs. I think it went all the way up to 3 or 3.5 at one point. So I didn't get a great number on it, but they only lost 16-14. So they only lost by two. So the Panthers covered that game. So that's what I wanted. I did pick them on the money line as well, but that didn't work out for me. But um, the big board was actually pretty good for me this past week. It seems like I won $800 overall on the big board. Um, so that was a pretty good week for me. I almost caught up to you uh, in the
no,
overall contest, lost by a few $100. But yeah, so Carolina ended up their 8-9 playoff team. They're playing against the Rams. There's a rematch against the Rams. They actually beat Los Angeles in Carolina a few weeks ago. I think Carolina's 10 point underdogs though in this game. This might be another game where you think Carolina can keep it close uh, against Los Angeles, or you think Los Angeles maybe the Rams have figured it out by this role.
no.
But it's hard to win playoff games on the road, especially. But yeah, Carolina. I think they're probably are they the most surprising playoff team this year? They were only 8-9, so
Yeah,
you don't have to be they didn't have to be that great. But
right. Yeah, 'cause the division ended up being kind of a mess, right? Yeah, the best record was yeah 3, 8, and 9 teams, right? So
yeah,
yeah, I don't. I mean, it's still surprising knowing what they had done last year. I don't think we expected them to be in that position, and I think probably both of us and most of the rest of the country too probably expected Tampa to be a playoff team anyway.
yeah,
So yeah, I mean, it would be maybe probably would have been really surprising if multiple teams made it from that division because it's not been a very good division
it's
for
been one of the worst historical
uh,
divisions in the last few years, anyway.
for
Um,
yeah for like several years though, not just a brief
yeah,
dip into that. Yeah,
yeah, I think none of of the other playoff teams. I guess you maybe a little surprised. Maybe Seattle surprisingly they were the number one overall seed
Yeah,
in the NFC, but and maybe the Bears being so high as well.
yeah,
I think the biggest surprises were teams that didn't make the playoffs, like um, Detroit, Kansas City, Baltimore, um, maybe Cincinnati, but Burrow was hurt for a lot of the season, so maybe not as much. But those would have been the teams um, that would make it. But yeah, anyway,
yeah.
so that was my lock of the week. That was the closest lock. That one we can
Yes.
preview the playoffs in a little bit. But yeah, well, how about your first successful lock of the week, there, Scott?
I had Buffalo -7 against the Jets. That game wasn't terribly close. Buffalo ended up winning 35-8. Buffalo already had a playoff seed locked, but there's playoff. They were in the playoffs, but yeah, their seed wasn't finalized, I think, at the time. But you still want to win going into the playoffs. So that ended up working out well, I think, for me. Buffalo only needed to win by a touchdown. They won by 4. So
Yeah,
easy win.
easy win for that one. I had another in AFC East team in a fairly easy. Well, that was favored by 10.5. The Patriots over the Dolphins, and Patriots had an outside shot at the number one seed. Had the Broncos not won, and the Patriots were, I think it's a 10, yeah, 10 was it 10.5 uh,
Yep.
point favorites over Miami. They won that game 38-10, so they won that one by 4 touchdowns also. So that was an easy victory for New England. Um, and
And you. And you.
and me, yeah. And maybe we're talking about coaches being fired. Is it surprising that Mike McDaniel has not been fired from Miami? Maybe that's the most surprising.
Yeah, and especially because at the end of the season too, right? Because he looked like he moved on from Tua, maybe trying to distance himself, saying like, "Look, this isn't a me problem that the team was bad. It's because I was saddled with Tua Tagovailoa." And it didn't go well after that. They won a few games from the lead up to that shift, but they did not look good in the games after that quarterback change was made.
Mm-hmm.
Did you think that would be the final straw there for Miami, or did
I
not
thought
maybe it doesn't matter anyway?
they fired the GM in the middle of the season, so you thought maybe
Yeah,
probably the coach was going to go at the end. Like they kept McDaniel. It seemed like because he knew the offense, and none of the other um, coaches really ran the offense in the way that he did, so they kind of kept him by necessity. So it's still possible, I guess, he could get fired. But he did
yeah,
have a strong. They did have a stronger finish than a start to the season. So
yeah,
maybe another year, maybe. But it's yeah, it's a little. I think that's. I think the most surprising non-fire probably.
yeah,
Um, I was a little surprised. What was the most surprising? I guess the Harbaugh maybe was the most surprising fire.
yeah.
Stefanski, I guess, I is somewhat is and somewhat isn't. I wouldn't. He seems to be a good coach though, so I think gets a
Well, the
lot out of.
organization is sort of inept, though, right? Like
Yeah,
some of the trades that they have made in the past that didn't set Stefanski up very well to succeed. Right. I
yeah.
mean,
They don't have
they're going to be paying Deshaun Watson like $80 million next year. I think, something
well,
like that.
he's coming back next year apparently, so
Okay. But
maybe
his
he's the
contract is
quarterback.
so enormous, though. That, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah. The Pete Carroll firing is maybe, maybe the most surprising because it was only a 1 year
Yeah,
after he was picked up. But also, the Raiders have a tendency to let people go relatively early, though,
yeah,
too. And you'd
and
think that
especially since the
you kind of
Raiders.
want to give a coach a couple of seasons, right, to
Yeah,
actually implement whatever changes they're trying to on the team, on the roster, on the schemes that they may have developed over the last several years.
yeah. The Raiders did win last against the Chiefs, so maybe he thought maybe they'd keep the job that way.
Yeah.
He'd keep his job that way, but yeah. But who knows what goes through the minds of Mark Davis and his terrible haircut. Uh,
True. No one knows. No, there's no way anyone can
um, yeah. So how about moving on, how about your third and final lock of the week, your second victory, Dr. Scott?
It's another easy win for me. Was the Jacksonville Jaguars versus Tennessee. Jacksonville was favored by 12 and a half points, but ended up winning 41-7, the more than four touchdowns, uh, two touchdowns in excess plus. So another easy win there. So two easy
Yeah,
wins, one terrible loss for me this week.
is is Jacksonville the best team in the AFC?
Man, they sure finished the season strong. So I don't know. I mean,
They
if they
won
play like
at
that,
Denver.
they're going to do quite well. If they
Yeah,
revert to sort of their old selves from the last couple of years, then it's probably not going to go very well. So I don't know. I don't know how to tell if a team is good or bad right now, Mike. It's the NFL has been very strange this season, and it's not obviously
yeah.
easily predicted by at least either of us on a lot of our picks. Except this week we did quite well.
Going in, yeah. I guess just look. Well, we'll talk about playoffs a little bit, but like
Yeah,
if you just looked at the playoff teams right now and saw who was in it, who wasn't, you would say, well, this is the Bills' year because
right,
they still have Josh Allen and there's no Mahomes, no Joe Burrow, no Lamar Jackson in the playoffs, and you would say, well, if Josh Allen can't win it this year, when is he ever going to be able to win?
right.
Uh, get to the Super Bowl? So it's yeah, it's been a strange, yeah, very strange year. Um, maybe the Patriots have looked strong, but they haven't played anybody other than the Bills basically
Right,
all season. They had a last place schedule, and um, the Broncos have looked good at times, but they just got they got beaten by the Jaguars fairly handily at home. And then
yeah.
the Jaguar, and the Jaguars, it's just Trevor Lawrence. He hasn't looked like he hasn't played that great, but they still won games easily. So I don't. Yeah, it's just a weird conference. So we can talk
Yeah, he
about
hasn't
who
put
we
up
think.
like huge numbers. Like he's been
No,
okay, but he hasn't been like bad, but he hasn't been
no, he
the
hasn't.
driving force for why the team is, winning so many games this season either. Right?
He hasn't been the quarterback that people thought he would be when he was drafted. Sure.
Yeah.
Um,
I think we both picked him and the Jaguars to not play all that well this season. I think we both had under on the season win totals for Jacksonville, and they easily went over
yeah.
this year.
Maybe before we can talk about this over under win totals. See how many we each got.
Yeah.
Um,
We had them at 6 and 7 wins this season, so the two of us had, and then they ended up with
13.
13 wins of the year.
They
So
they
yeah,
won as many games
we
as
didn't expect that.
we picked them to win together. They won that many games by themselves. We Yeah. So my third lock of the week was another close game. And that was the Pittsburgh Baltimore game on Sunday night, the last game of the regular season. Pittsburgh was actually 3.5 point underdogs at home, and so I picked them. I thought it'd be a close game. I like the 3.5 a lot. So they actually ended up winning outright by two, thanks to a missed field goal. But even had the Ravens made that field goal, I still would have won on the spread. So I
Yeah.
did actually pick Pittsburgh on the money line as well. So that was a close game. But 26-24, Steelers pulled it out. They won the AFC North, finishing 10-7. So they're the number 4 seed going into the playoffs. Um, and yeah, and the Ravens, because that miss happened, Ravens actually missed the playoffs. Harbaugh's gone now, so that was a very costly miss for John Harbaugh from the um, new rookie kicker who took place of Justin Tucker because Justin Tucker's um, his alleged improprieties, his Deshaun Watson esque improprieties off the field. So maybe had Tucker been in there, they would have made that kick. Uh, but um, yeah, you never know. But yeah, so just, anyway, Pittsburgh won by two. They were 3.5 point underdogs, so that was a fairly easy cover as it turned out.
Not necessarily the win, but the cover, and that's all you
Yeah,
needed.
yeah,
But that's where some of the betting side of things plays out to your favor, right? Because you don't
yeah,
necessarily have to win if you're picking underdog. So
yeah.
yeah, and so what? Yeah, you ended up only being one pick under 500 for the year, 26, 27, and one. And was eight picks under 500, 23 and 31 on the seasons. So yeah, not the best season that we've had, especially with our locks anyway. But the big board was also kind of ugly on the season. But you did well
Yeah,
this week though. You ended up making about $800 this week.
yeah. I mean, about eight hundred
On
dollars.
good picks all around.
Yeah, I still lost almost $6,000 on the year. You lost about over $5,000 in the year, so I finished about $500 behind you.
Yeah,
You lost a few $100s this week. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, I did well on I did pick some upsets this week, so I did well on the money line. I also did well on the spreads and the over unders this week because there are a lot of unders. So um,
it
that
probably
turned out
isn't
well.
a bad idea to pick unders the last week of the season, just to think about this for like future seasons, right? Because
Yeah.
there are a lot of backups in. So unless the over/under numbers, like the predicted lines, are super low compared to previous weeks, then yeah, picking the blanket under on last week's is probably almost like a no-brainer. We should probably be doing that all the time, right?
Yeah, it worked
Or
out
at least for the last week.
well for me. Yeah. And of course, next year is probably not going to be, but we'll see.
I guess.
Um, There'll be backups, but it'll be also because backup defensive players, so maybe the offenses would play better. But
Yeah,
it seems like it's harder. It's easier for a backup defensive team to keep players off. I don't know. It seems like the
that's
offenses
what
have
it
a
seems
harder
like.
time scoring when backups are
Yeah,
in than like we went under our blanket under preseason a couple weeks ago was really good for me. Um,
yeah,
because again, when the players are not as good, it seems like scoring is down. Um,
yeah, yeah. Well, and if the team doesn't like if they're changing their offenses and defenses like somewhat regularly too, then there's no warming up and getting better as the game goes on. You're just going to shift to a weaker talent pool also, right? As you're going through this game, the preseason.
yeah, yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah. Anyway, uh, yeah. So that kind of wraps up our big board for the regular season. Yeah, our season win totals were not good. We had a reversion there too. Like last year, I think we were both completely even, 16 and 16 on a season win total over unders. This year, I think we were both bad again. We were 10 and 11 picks correct is all out of the 32.
It's not so good. How did you have 10 or 11?
I had 11 this
Oh,
time.
usually you beat me by one. Yeah, that was a
So two,
bad
2 years ago, I had 12. You had 10. Last year, we were both 16 and 16.
15 and
So
16. That shows how hard it is to get those over unders right, I
yeah,
think.
it
Do you
only
think,
takes
oh,
like
this
one
team's
one
going to be
QB
good?
injury and then can
Yeah,
throw the
like,
whole season out. Yeah,
yeah.
but what are you gonna do?
What are you going to do? Well, we can move on and talk about college football playoffs before we get to the NFL playoffs. There's also any Royals news. Uh, we've
Mm,
had
not
Chiefs
really.
news about stadium stuff. We haven't had any Royals
Nothing about the
uh,
stadium. I guess they did
stadium
extend
news.
Ferrero's contract for 3 more years and then an option year. So he's under contract right now through 2029. That's
That's
the only real news. So they'll have some consistency in the coaching staff, I guess, is what that
yeah,
signals. Whether that's good or not, I guess we'll find out. I
yeah.
think that's the only Royals news. Maybe one more thing from the NFL though, Mike. We talked about the coaching openings. Which one do you think is the most interesting opening? Like who's the most desired destination for all those would-be head coaches out there?
Well, I think the team, if you want a team that's like closest to, Super Bowl ready, I guess you would say probably the Ravens. Because they have Lamar Jackson, they have um, Eric Henry, they have a lot of strong players on defense as well. Um, you would think they would be the team that would be the team. Maybe you just do the right couple tweaks here and there. You can have a juggernaut type team, which they were the last few years. They just kind of ran into trouble in the playoffs, or ran into the Chiefs, or things like that. Um, so I think
Well,
that would
they had a tendency to like sort of lose weirdly late too the last
yeah, and
season
they
or
and
two.
they just didn't play well. Maybe it's just Jackson doesn't play that well in the playoffs either. So in games that are big, maybe he had some injuries this year. Hard to say,
Yeah.
but I think that's probably the team that has the most going for them. So I guess that would be the best job. Do you have a what? So we have so you would say that maybe you like the Raiders since you can. But
You have a
that's
number one pick, so you
number
maybe
one
the
pick.
most flexibility in the draft capital.
But you also have a kind of volatile ownership group. Um, Although maybe Tom Brady is some steadying force there, but it doesn't seem it didn't
Maybe,
help
or
Pete
it could be
Carroll.
maybe could be a confusing force though too if he's
Yeah,
if there are other people that have differing opinions. So
yeah, I think Cleveland's not so great because you don't have a quarterback. You have the Browns history as well.
right,
Uh,
Giants are sort of in that spot too.
Giants are kind of in that, but they've had historic success. They haven't had late success. Um, and you have a sort of quarterback, but maybe not a super high end talent at quarterback.
Right.
Uh, Jackson Dart, but maybe he can take a leap like Drake May
Mm.
did. Um,
Atlanta is like a weird position with
Atlanta's similar. You have a
two
quarterback that
quarterbacks, the
neither one is probably going to be great.
one aging, one young, but maybe not so good. It's hard to tell.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Um, Same thing. You have Tennessee's kind of the same as they were last year. You have a new young quarterback, but a team that's
mm.
not very good.
So yeah, if you have a coach that really likes Cam Ward, then that may be interesting.
Yeah. Um, who we
But
left out? Uh,
Arizona,
Arizona. Yeah, Arizona's in shambles. It seems like as well. They're in a tough division
seemingly, yeah.
with three playoff teams. Um, you have a
That's
quarterback that's
that's
been
the
injured a
tough.
lot.
Their competition is like just a murderer's row right now.
Yeah, so that's a little bit like you can also say about the Raiders' job. Their competition is going to be very difficult as well because Chiefs had a down year, but they also had the Chargers and the Broncos, who are playoff teams the last 2 years. Um, and
With top end coaching
coaches, yeah, with
already
with
there.
with potentially Hall of Fame level coaching. Um, so yeah, I think that especially also you have the NFC, AFC North that you have going for it in with the Ravens job because Pittsburgh's always a solid team, but they're never a great team.
Yeah,
Cleveland's usually bad. The Bengals are the Bengals too, and
yeah,
they're up and down depending on whether Joe Burrow's healthy or not. So,
right.
um, and they're historically have not been a very good team. So it seems like that's yeah. I think the Ravens job is the one that you would want. Also, because the previous Ravens coach, was there for 18 years, so you have you know um, a franchise that's not going to pull the plug too quickly, maybe.
Looking at the other side of that, yeah, being like the Raiders who will fire anybody, basically maybe even without even a whole year sometimes, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't take a whole lot. Yeah. So yeah. So do you expect there to be more coach carousel to happen here as the playoffs wrap up and maybe some retirements could happen or
Well, I think we mentioned Miami. Maybe that's still in the works.
yeah.
It seems like a lot of coordinators have lost their jobs, so maybe that's staved off other coaches getting fired. Like maybe we said, retirements. Um, Maybe Andy Reid retires.
Possible.
That's possible. I'd probably not, but I think that's as likely as any other firing of a playoff
Yeah.
coach. Unless maybe Tomlin's out, like you maybe we mentioned before we went on the air, but they finished 10-7 again, a winning
Yeah.
record, made the playoffs. Especially if they beat the Houston Texans at home.
Yeah.
I'm sure Tomlin's job is going to be safe. Um, but they haven't won a playoff game since I think the infamous 18-16 win over the Chiefs in um, 2016 or 17. Well, the
Yeah.
2016 season, I think,
That sounds right.
early 2017. Um, so those was before Mahomes. So yeah, it's yeah, hard to say. Yeah, because like, the other teams that are the playoff teams that are in the like we said, there's a lot of surprise playoff teams this year, or teams we didn't expect to be so great. So those teams that are in the playoffs aren't going to lose their head coach. So
Yeah, I wouldn't think.
um,
They could lose a coordinator or something to one of these head coach openings, but
yeah,
yeah, 'cause that happens pretty regularly, but
yeah,
not usually a head coach after that. They get
no.
replaced. Yeah, typically no.
Should we move on to college football? Speaking of head coaches leaving, Lane Kiffin has left. Did you see the joke that Lane Kiffin is also being considered for the new head coach, the new president of Venezuela? Did you see
Great.
that? Uh,
Yeah. Pretty funny.
he would jump to that. I won't make any
Yeah.
comment about the invasion of Venezuela, but
But we do know that Lane Kiffin is always looking for his next opportunity, and that isn't outside the realm of possibility, I would say.
no. So he's gone, but the Ole Miss beat Georgia in this quarterfinals. Miami surprisingly beat Ohio State. So Miami is going to play a number 10 seed against number 6 seed Ole Miss. Your lone remaining title contender, we picked our futures title futures. I picked Texas Tech as one of mine. They lost. They were shut out by Oregon. I also picked Indiana, who beat um, Alabama very easily, 38-3. So
Mhm.
I have Indiana as my title hope that's left. You have Ole Miss that's your title hope that's left. It's possible they would both face each other in the finals. Indiana is 3.5 point favorites over Oregon. Miami is actually 3.5 point favorite over Ole Miss. Um, what do you what is your prediction for the college football playoff?
Well, I got to stick with my Ole Miss pick just because, but yeah, Miami's looking pretty good on, especially on defense. But yeah, I mean, I got to stick with the pick, and I gotta hope for an all warning track power hour futures final.
Yes,
So, and, Indiana is now I think they're the odds-on favorite as of now. So your pick is looking pretty good right there.
yeah, yeah. So they looked really good against Alabama. So
Wow,
they were
dominant win
they're
there.
the only team that's won the only higher seeded team that's won in the quarterfinals through 2 years. So
Yeah,
that's got to be something. Maybe that shows how good they are. They were able to break the curse. That's this short lived. I guess it's only been 2 years, but in maybe small
right.
sample. Still, it's been an advantage to play the week before for every other
Yeah,
team
the
until
rust versus rest debate.
yeah
So far, it looks like yeah, rust has been the bigger sort of deciding factor, I guess, right? Because yeah, all the teams that have had the extra rest have not played well
no not at all yeah
in that quarterfinal anyway. But now next week, well, which is now this week, all the teams will have just faced other teams in the previous week, so we can't have that debate anymore, right? So this is all actively current teams playing remaining.
yeah yeah.
Yeah,
We'll see how this one goes. Uh, yeah, I think it's yeah. I'll root for also for an Indiana Ole Miss a final. It would be really funny if Ole Miss made the finals without Lane Kiffin. Um,
that's why I picked it because I think it's funny.
yeah, Indiana's been the best team, it seems like, so far overall. Unless Oregon can. It seems like the Big Ten has been the best conference. Other, the surprising loss maybe for Ohio State to Miami, but it seems like the Big Ten has become superior to the SEC this season. Um,
Well, I'm sort of okay with that. I don't, I've never been a fan of either of those two conferences personally, but
I'd like to see more Big 12, but
yeah,
but
yeah,
uh,
Texas Tech didn't go very far.
they played pretty well in the first half. They just couldn't score any points,
Yeah,
and then just got away from it at the end. But yeah, it wasn't. They couldn't score, so it didn't really matter.
right.
Um,
Yeah, no points is not enough points.
Not usually. Yeah. So we have college football playoffs coming up on Friday and Thursday, Friday,
Thursday, Friday, yeah.
and
Like
then
yeah, 6:30 p.m. Central starts.
we'll make those
Yeah,
picks. Yeah. So we each, I guess, are going Indiana and Ole Miss for the
yeah,
final. I don't know. I guess the spread might be a little different when we make those picks, but
right.
um, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Um, so do you want to talk about the NFL playoffs? Now we have another super wild card weekend with the seven, uh, with three games for each conference: 7 versus 2, 6 versus 3, 5 versus 4. Number one seeds Seattle in the NFC and Denver in the AFC have a bye. Who do you like? Should we want to preview each playoff game real quick?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, we've got a
That'll
couple games on Saturday, three games on Sunday, and a Monday night game too.
We can see which way we're leaning.
Right.
Um, um, so the first game on Saturday is going to be in the NFC, the fifth seeded Los Angeles Rams against the fourth seeded, who we've already mentioned, the Carolina Panthers. This is a rematch of a game just a few weeks ago in Carolina that Carolina actually won outright when they were I think they were big underdogs in that game. So is
Yeah.
that going to happen again, or is Carolina not good enough to really hang with the Rams?
I expect the Rams to win this one. I don't know if they're gonna cover their 10-point spread though. That's the only
Yeah,
question that I have right now. So I would take the Rams on the money line as of now, but I'm not sure that I'd take them on the
yeah. I,
spread
I
too.
I tend to lead Carolina on the spread here as well.
Yeah.
If I really want to make a bunch of money, I would maybe pick Carolina on the money line. I don't know. Maybe
Right.
Carolina matches up well against the Rams. Um,
They just did it, so they're capable.
Short week. Um, Rams traveling all the way across the country.
That's
They
right.
didn't do so well last time, so I still probably think the Rams are probably but it
Yeah.
might be worth it to take the money line pick on the um, Panthers just because that would
Yeah, as of
gain
now
so
they're
much.
go ahead.
How much are they?
Oh, I was gonna say they're plus 440 is the
Plus
money line,
440. Yeah,
which I believe is the big yeah, that's the biggest
by far. Yeah.
by quite a bit. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, if you're looking if you hit that one, then you're doing pretty well probably
Hmm.
for the whole week, really, right? With that.
Yeah.
You can
So
miss like two other picks and still that's not the same thing now
yeah.
if you get
Then
that
we
one.
have a yeah, then we have a divisional matchup in the night game on Saturday. Green Bay at Chicago. Um, are you still? I still don't think Chicago's very good. Um,
No. But Green
I
Bay's been playing pretty terribly the last several weeks
Yeah,
too.
so it's hard to guess here. I
You kind
maybe
of have a tendency to want to say the teams that win the close games are the ones that you kind of expect to like have the ability to, pull out a game late. That's the team maybe you should pick. That's been Chicago, but oh man, I don't know. I don't know if I trust them at all though. Do you?
not really. Yeah, is Love healthy enough to play?
Yeah, that's
Um,
the other side.
so yeah, that's a game I don't want to really. I wouldn't have any part of.
So
Bears are
Chicago's
favored
favored by 1.5.
only 1.5, which means that at least Vegas sees the Packers as a better team uh,
Yeah,
than the Bears, which I think isn't out of line. Um, but
but this isn't the Aaron Rodgers led Packers where he owns the Bears, right?
no, it's also not. But it's also not the Aaron Rodgers led Packers where they choke in the playoffs either. So um,
Because they wouldn't have faced each other in the playoffs before. Yeah,
yeah.
right.
So I don't know what I like here. I'm leaning Green Bay right now, but
That's what it sounds like. Yeah,
I could switch back.
it's gonna maybe come down to a coin toss on the betting pick then, right?
Yeah. Um, we
Well, the
also
next
have
game is another tough one.
another 1.5 point favorite, but we actually have Buffalo as favorites on the road against Jacksonville. That's surprising to me. But we talked about going into this year. You would say, well, Buffalo's if it's only Josh Allen against that field in the AFC, you would think, okay, this is the Bills' year. Um,
They may walk
Jackson,
through the playoffs, right?
Jacksonville doesn't have a home field advantage really.
Really? Yeah.
Normal. It's
Yeah.
weather's going to be nice, probably at least nice
Yeah.
compared to Buffalo.
Right.
Uh, and Buffalo's favorite 1.5. The way Jacksonville's been played, they've been it seems like maybe they're the best team in the AFC. So I don't know how to go lean this way either. If I didn't know what happened this season, I would definitely pick Buffalo. But
Yeah.
knowing what happened this season, maybe Buffalo's not the pick. I don't know.
Yeah, and like it seems like the way that the Buffaloes played, it's if Josh Allen protects the ball, then they tend to do well. If he throws a pick or two, then they may get blown out too. It's really just kind of may just go down to a tip ball here or there as to be the difference in how well they play this year. So they haven't been like the dominant team that we've seen from them in the past either. So yeah, I'm not sure which way I'm going to lean on this one either. It's kind of unfortunate that you have like maybe two of the better teams actually having to face each other immediately rather than later in the playoffs. That was
Yeah,
maybe unfortunate how the seeding shook out for those
yeah.
two.
Well,
Yeah.
that's the early game on Sunday. The middle game on Sunday is San Francisco at Philadelphia, and Philadelphia is actually 4.5 point favorites over the 49ers, which maybe is a little surprising.
Uh,
Uh, the way the 49ers have been playing, the way the Eagles have been playing this year. But going back to last year, the Eagles are the reigning Super Bowl champions. Everybody's back basically from the year before. So again, if you looked at last year and just didn't think about what happened this year, you would say that's maybe an easy pick for the Eagles. Although these are the two most recent NFC champions that are playing against each other too. So the Niners are always good. So I don't. Yeah, I don't. I think if the Eagles haven't been playing particularly well this year, but they still managed to win the division pretty easily.
right.
So yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, what do you think of this one?
It seems like San Francisco was scoring like almost 40 points a game the last couple of weeks, but weren't able to score hardly anything against Seattle's defense. So, but I
Yeah, Trent
guess
Williams was hurt, so maybe that's a big. Maybe if he's not
yeah,
back, that could be a big problem.
yeah,
Um, Kittle's been injured off and on. Of course,
yeah.
Purdy's been injured off and on this year. The receiving core for the 49ers has been very weak. You got Sky Moore playing significant time. So it must be, that's how bad things have gotten in San Francisco.
Probably not ideal then. Yeah,
Marcus Robinson, I think, has been playing for San Francisco as well.
yeah.
Uh, of the Chiefs.
Yeah, if you
Um,
think, I mean, if you think that the 49ers offense is good, and it's just that Seattle's defense is also very good, and maybe that wins out when they face each other. But I don't think that the Eagles' defense is probably as good as what Seattle put up last week anyway. So
hmm,
yeah, maybe San Francisco's at least score some points. You don't expect them to be like shut down 2 weeks in a row, do you?
Probably not. Um,
But that doesn't mean Philly can't put up points either, though. But
yeah.
who knows? So yeah, do you have a leaning in this one or? I might be leaning towards San Francisco a little bit, at least on the
Right.
spread.
Yeah, I think I the way Hurts has been playing has been bad. He hasn't been very good this year.
Yeah,
But if they just turn it on in the playoffs, they're the best. I think they're still the best team top to bottom. So
yeah,
I guess I'm leaning Philadelphia because of San Francisco's injuries. But San Francisco was just very close to getting them 1 seed overall. So
yeah.
it's one of those things where do you look at just them on paper and think about what happened last year, or do you look at what happened this year? Is that going to matter? Like it's very similar to that Buffalo Jacksonville.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah,
how much recency bias can you put on this too?
yeah,
Like in the last game they didn't play well. Does that mean that they're not going to play well into the playoffs, or are they a switch where they can flip it like the Chiefs, sort of did in the playoffs a few years ago? Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know that you can make that determination, at least as a
And then
better.
yeah, yeah. Then we have two AFC games. The Sunday night game and the Monday night game for the AFC. We have seven seeded Los Angeles Chargers against the 2 seed New England Patriots in Foxborough. 3.5 point favorites are the Patriots. Is the question is how healthy is Herbert? Uh,
Yeah. Yeah, the Chargers kind of limped into the playoffs, not really playing well the last couple of weeks, but and New England's played really well going into the playoffs, so easy win last week. Uh and the week before I think they won pretty handily too without even I think resting a lot of starters even. So I'm leaning pretty heavily towards New England right now, but I don't know what to expect from the Chargers though. They could be a kind of a
well,
wild card.
Herbert has his hand is still broken.
Right.
His left hand, not his right hand, but
Right.
still. The way the Patriots have been playing, they've been a juggernaut lately, but they also don't have a lot of playoff experience.
Yeah.
How much do you trust Drake May? They played a lot of bad teams. The Chargers have played a lot of better teams, I think, over the course of the season
Yeah.
uh, than the Patriots have. So this might be again Jim Harbaugh uh, might be against Mike Vrabel. These are both good coaches.
Yeah.
Um,
Gritty, tough guys.
I might I if there's an upset, I could see this being the upset game, and see the Chargers taking it because the Chargers have been so bad in the playoffs too. They've remember that game against Jacksonville they were up by 4 touchdowns and then they lost uh,
Yeah.
a couple years ago. So yeah, the Chargers aren't a good playoff team, but maybe they don't. There's no expectation for them to win, so maybe that's the
True.
maybe that's the elixir. I would say what the weather depends on what the weather's going to be like too.
Yeah.
Um, if the weather's not going to be so bad, then the Chargers might have a good shot. Um,
Yeah. I haven't looked ahead at weather for any of these games, but it looks
but yeah,
like expected to be as of now cloudy and 35.
35. Okay, so again, the weather's not
Not
it's
not a
cold,
not a
but it's not.
blizzard predicted
Yeah.
yet, but this is only like, Tuesday while we're recording this, so
Maybe
a
I'll
lot
wait
can happen
until yeah,
weather-wise between now and then.
I might wait until we get closer to game time to make that decision then.
No.
Uh,
So it sounds like
and
I'm leaning towards pretty heavily towards New England. You're maybe just waiting to see like what the weather gods have in store.
yeah, yeah, this might. I still haven't fully bought into New England, so
It's fair.
I, and the Chargers, I think we're seen as a better team going into this year as
True.
well. So, um, I still think maybe that's a room for an upset. Um,
You may say the same thing about the last matchup too. Same kind of situation, right?
yeah, we have Pittsburgh at home against Houston. Houston's actually 3 point favorites on the road. Uh, Houston's been playing really well lately.
Yeah.
But Pittsburgh, they've been winning games, and it's at home in Pittsburgh. Weather might be bad. Um, Pittsburgh's been good as underdogs too, usually at home,
Yeah.
especially. So maybe might be a game I'm leaning Pittsburgh. Even if I can see the 3 points, the full three, um, they can keep it close. So Pittsburgh doesn't really, yeah. Rogers maybe this is his final shot at things. So maybe this is his last go around. So I don't know. I'm leaning a little Pittsburgh here rather than Houston, but I don't know. What about you?
You think are you rooting for that scenario to maybe like hasten the exit for Rogers then? Like if he in a good enough note that maybe we'll call it a career and go away so we don't have to talk about him anymore?
Maybe. I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't think anything short of a Super Bowl win is probably good enough for to guarantee Rodgers exit.
Right.
Um, which I wouldn't want to see Rodgers win another Super Bowl. Um,
Yes. I think I'm kind of leaning towards Houston in this one so far. Just because of how they've been playing the last couple of weeks, and yeah, Pittsburgh's been sort of up and down, but they've managed to win. They also won, because another team missed a field goal in the last
yeah.
one. That's what got them into the playoffs. So that's the only way that they made the playoffs was by an odd set of circumstances to be in the situation where they have a kicker that isn't a
Hmm.
wouldn't have been a Hall of Famer, I guess, potentially, not being there anymore. So I don't know. It's I don't think Pittsburgh making the playoffs is maybe as much of a momentum thing for them, I guess. So I think I'm leaning towards Houston. At least on the money line, I will end up taking Houston. But yeah, the spread's just enough that you can still win without Pittsburgh winning the game, right?
Yeah.
Talking about it from the betting perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a
So
big, yeah, 3.5. Maybe you would take, that'd be an easy pick, or 2.5. But three is hard, it could be
just
a
enough.
push. But
I mean, you had a game last week where you picked 2.5 point difference and managed to win without the
yeah,
underdog winning the game, just covering the spread. So
that's
it can
true.
happen.
So yeah,
There's
we'll
enough
see
room.
what happens. Yeah. So yeah, interesting games coming up in the playoffs. We'll see how that goes. Anything else we want to talk about this week? Or is
I think
this
that's a lot of getting ready for playoffs. Let's get here now, right?
playoffs? Yeah.
Yes, we're
Uh,
finally ready for playoffs.
yeah, the Colts are not in the playoffs, even though
Uh,
they had a good start. But um, yeah. But anyway, Chiefs also not in the playoffs, but we'll see. We'll keep an eye on them in the off season, and we'll see what we'll see. We'll be back next week with a wild card review and a, divisional round preview, and
CFP semi-final results, and we'll know who the final participants will be next week.
yes, we'll know who the final, the championship round, college football playoffs would be. Maybe there'll be some Royals news or some baseball news to talk about as well. Other news in the world of sports or entertainment we can discuss. But this, oh, we didn't also mention this is this first week we've had the One Trick Power Hour. Both of us are in Kansas City. I am at my boyhood home here in Kansas City, and Dr. Scaff is at his home in Kansas City as well. So this is the first time we've been in the same city, I believe,
That's right.
doing our hour. So
The
something
5 season run of this year show.
put that on the you can put that on the bingo card if you're
Yes.
playing. So, uh, but it's been nice being back in town. We'll be back next week with a more typical episode where I will be back in Maryland. And Dr. Scaff will still be in Kansas City, whether it's on the Missouri or Kansas side, we don't yet know.
We'll find
It's
out every day.
always a mystery.
Never know.
Um, but yeah, we'll be back next week with another exciting episode. So as always, I am Dr. Michael Werman. He is Dr. Andrew Scaff. We are the One Track Power Hour. Please like or subscribe to our YouTube channel, available on YouTube, and or our podcast available on many different podcast delivery platforms and services, including the one you're using right now, most likely. So we have uh, all that to look forward to next week here at the Power Hour. We also wish you, if you're making bets this weekend, we wish you the best of luck. As long as your interests do not conflict with ours. And we haven't really made our interests um, obvious, I guess, so far this week. So we don't really have
Just lean
lean other
ins.
than we have leans. I guess we have leans for the college football playoff, but not NFL. We were still up in the air on. I think we just want more time to study and
Okay.
reflect on these games. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that comes around as we get closer to the weekend, and we'll make our picks and we'll see what happens. And thanks for sticking with us throughout the entire of the NFL regular season. Now we're into the playoffs, the first playoffs in many years that haven't had a Kansas City participant. So it'll be interesting. It'll be a less stressful playoffs, I think,
For
than it has
us.
for us in the past several years. So maybe that will lead to more rational picks. Do you think that maybe we'll see that that
Mm,
helps or not without the burden of worrying about the Chiefs
yeah.
games?
No,
But
no homerism. Yeah.
no homerism.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll see how that goes. So from us here at the Warren Truck Power Hour, we wish you a good day.